Have you ever heard people say Rome wasn't built in a day? The Roman Empire took many centuries to reach its apex, and just as long to fall to its demise. Rome lasted 500 years, from its early days as a Etruscan colony to its great empire that reached into Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. To its fall to its neighboring barbarian tribes. Although Rome no longer exists, Roman culture has deep roots in Western civilization. Our languages, religion, government, technology can be traced back to Roman ideas. To know Rome, you must know its people, its art, its culture, its government, and its history, from its birth to its inevitable fall. The family was the center of Roman life, in all classes. The father was the head of the family. He was known as the pater familias. He legally had control over all of his family. Mothers may be under the husband, but she was known as the domina, and the mistress of coin. In other words, she ran the household and handled the finances. Roman children started to go to school at age 7 for most boys. Only girls of rich families were educated. Wealthy children would have tutors, while other children had to go to public school. They studied Latin, the language of ancient Rome, reading, writing, math, and literature, as well as debate. Poor children, as well as slaves, did not get to go to school. The day started for most Romans with breakfast that may consist of bread and olive oil, then off to work. Roman jobs. Farmer. For Romans who lived in the country, farming was a way of life. Days would start off early and end late. The whole family worked together to run this farm. Children did not go to school. Soldier. In most cases, soldiers lived in the barracks with his platoon. Most lower-class citizens joined the army to work their way up in Roman society. Merchants and craftsmen made and sold goods. If you were successful, you could work your way up to be in patrician status. Entertainers. The people of ancient Rome liked to be entertained, just like people today. There were a number of entertainers in Roman times, including merchants, dancers, actors, chariot racers, and gladiators. Lawyers, teachers, and engineers. The more educated Romans could become lawyers, teachers, and engineers. Government. There were all sorts of government jobs, from tax collectors and clerks to high-ranking positions like senators. As the day wore on, some Romans would visit their local bathhouse for a quick dip or just to socialize. Due to the aqueducts, there was at least one bathhouse in every town. Social system and class. Roman society was a class system. This means people were divided into social groups. There were 4 classes. The patrician, or the upper class, mostly made out of large farm owners or the government leaders. Next were the plebeians. These were merchants, artisans, and soldiers. Next were perenges, immigrants. These were men and women that came from far lands living in Rome, though they could not hold some jobs that normal Roman-born citizens could, such as government positions or branches in the military. Lastly, there were the slaves, or the mangones. In most cases, they were treated like objects rather than people. Although social classes existed in Roman society, individuals were not locked into one class. Slaves could buy their freedom and become merchants, but this was very rare. Government. At Rome's conception, their first form of government was a monarchy. This is when a single person rules over everyone. As time went on, they overthrew the thought of monarchy and established a republic. A republic consisted of 2 council members and 300 senators, made of patricians, and in great times of crisis, they elected a dictator, or a person that had control over all the government, for 6 months. After some time, the Senate added tribunes to voice the plebeians' opinions. Rome's final form of government was an empire. It was sort of a mixture between monarchy and a republic, where a dictator ruled for life, but the Senate still had a voice. Art, philosophy, literature, and drama. Roman art and theater was directly taken from the Greeks. Their sculptures, literature, and plays were done in the Greek style. Greek art influenced the Roman artists. Characters from their plays were taken from Greek plays. Romans also took on Greek deities and gave them Roman names. Athena became Minerva, Zeus became Jupiter, Aphrodite became Venus. Roman writers would also weave grand tales of the gods with human-like virtues and vices. These stories were taken from Greek mythologies and plays. Romans also wrote their original plays in a Greek style, which consisted of a protagonist and antagonist, just like in Greek dramas. Cicero and Lucretius were followers of Greek philosophy. They followed such philosophers as Plato and Socrates. Cicero wrote a poem called The Nature of Things, and he was a skeptic philosopher. He would constantly question what people believe in. Virgil and Ovid were Roman poets and writers. Virgil's works were an epic called Aeneid and the Eclogues. He talked about how to live your life to the fullest and always be cautious. Ovid used the Socratic method to constantly question beliefs. Greeks were inspired Roman culture, which reflected in their arts. Greece influenced Roman art, literature, science, and religion. The Mediterranean Sea. It allowed Rome to trade with its neighboring countries and territories. Egypt created scripted textbooks about math that included division and multiplication of fractions and geometric formulas to calculate the areas and volumes of some shapes. The Phoenicians developed a writing system that they used with clay tablets to record written language. Judea, the birthplace of Christianity. Athens gave Rome a template for government, democracy. Persians gave Rome the ways of assimilation. Babylon discovered a variety of illnesses and diseases and described their system in the Diagnostic Handbook that helped Romans treat various ailments and conditions. Assyria developed a water screw that was used to deliver water to high elevations. Asia Minor, domestication of the horse, 21 BC in the Ural Mountains. The die is cast. I came, I saw, I conquered. Julius Caesar. Our sweetest hours fly the fastest. Virgil.